All right, Robert Brehmer, how many years have you been doing pottery?
About 40.
Holy moly.
Started 1980 is when I took my first class in college, and the bug bit me hard. I just
about to
wanted
say.
to do that.
I was about to say, you got bit by the clay bug for quite a while. Just let the folks tell us what you're doing.
Well, this right now is the clay I buy pre-mixed from Kentucky Mud Works, and it's called Big Turtle. That's just the name of it, but it's a stoneware, rather firm. But for what I want to throw now, I want it firm because I'm throwing a shape
Yeah,
like this vase here.
that's freaking cool.
And
The amount of precision with these pieces. You see all the other kind of pottery and whatnot in the shows, and they don't have this kind of precision.
And there are plenty of good potters out there. Some now have gone to a more rustic, to the point where it's a loose look, and then they're like, okay, that's just the way it's going to be and
True.
intended to be. And I have trouble even trying to do that because I want them to look like
Perfectionistic.
like a bowl should look like it's round and this kind of thing, unless you alter the rim or something. But I want a bowl to look like like a bowl like that, and where it's round and be perfectly functional and not something that's more of a sculpture. I want it to be a functional bowl.
Take pride in the quality, man.
And I just don't want someone to look at like, wow, a beginning student made that. It's like, that's not what I'm after. So for this piece, this vase, I probably use 5 to 6 pounds. Have my old scale, but it's effective. It's 3.5 right there. Probably need at least a couple more.
Widget.
This piece is 4. I'll probably add some to this rather than use this. So I'm just going to cut a little off.
And this process is called wedging, correct?
Wedging, yep. I'm going to add, I'll probably cut this in half.
It's a good tricep workout, I hear.
It's very good. Okay, this piece here, there's no bubbles in that or anything. That's just how I like it.
Now, do they sift? How do they make this clay? Do they sift the crap out of it?
They mine it, and then it's a combination of materials. It's a clay body, which means it's not just clay. There's some feldspar in there. There's some free silica in there usually. And then maybe 2 or 3 kinds of clay, meaning like a ball clay and a kaolin sometimes, and like a earth clay, like a lower fire clay, like red art and stuff like that. Get from Ohio. So I'm going to slap these two together and then wedge this some more.
Oh, yeah.
Which is basically like kneading bread dough, except this is a lot stiffer.
Oh, yeah.
And for this piece I want to throw, I want it stiff.
So it'll warm up and get more plastic as
This is a very plastic, meaning almost greasy slickness to it when it does that. That's a nice clay body. That's a very nice stoneware. So I'm going to weigh this again. 5.5 pounds. That's good. That's about what I want. So I'll bag this other one. I don't want it to get too firm. It's already plenty firm.
And bagging it up like that helps contain the moisture.
I'll just keep the moisture in. I don't want it to dry any more than it is. Now this one I'm going to wedge so it's more homogeneous in texture, and make sure there's no air bubbles in it.
Excellent.
And there shouldn't be air bubbles, but this is pretty firm, and this will give you a chest / tricep workout for sure. And then my wrist, if I slow this down and do this and make a bullhead out of this, and your wrist get it too, and some potters get carpal tunnel.
Yeah.
And problem with wrist, I've never had that in 45 years of working with clay. One of the lucky ones, I guess. But some have surgeries for carpal tunnel and
Wow.
back problems, and I can't say I've had that, luckily. So I'm gonna just get these creases out, just pound this in a little bit. Do the other side. Now the side I'll put to the bat is this, so I'm just gonna rotate this. Just kind of rounding it out a little bit. So when I put it on the wheel head, it won't be a real oblong shape.
Yeah.
So I got this side on the bottom. I'm just going to round this off
Wait for the
on my
slap.
canvas.
Wait for the slap.
And then that'll be better for putting it on the wheel head. It's almost flat. I'll just take this one.
Hot off the bat. Is that where the term
Made
comes from?
Yeah. Made of MDF. It's a wood fiber product. But I've had these for a while. They're very durable. They're
Oh yeah.
semi-sealed.
How do they seal it?
I think they just put some liquid sealer in this wood. It's called MDF.
Medium density fiberboard.
Yep. And if you don't seal it, this stuff, you're not supposed to let it like just soak in water or stay soaked.
It'll expand.
It will expand and swell, but these have been great bats.
It's so hypnotizing to watch.
And they're
this
drilled
stuff.
10 inch on center for my Amico Brent wheel, which I've had for at least 30 years.
They don't make them like this anymore, do they? Or do they?
The splash pan I don't think the new ones are as thick. They still make the Brent wheels right down in Indianapolis, which is just down the road from us about 20 minutes, 25 minutes.
Slap.
And a little slap, so 5.5 pounds of clay is pretty much kind of in that line already, right? Kind of gives me kind of a centered start.
Yeah.
And then just make sure everything stays good and lubricated when you're getting this going, because if you don't, it gets hot, and the friction gets hot, and it'll grab at your hands. So mainly I want to get this centered. It should look like it's standing still while spinning.
Yep.
It shouldn't do all like do any of that. Then just straighten that out. Because this is quite firm, it takes a bit to center that, but once it is though,
Let's get it started.
This is to make sure it's called coning. And this is to try to make sure there's no bubbles. If there usually are, they'll rise to the outside and I'll feel them, and then I can pop them with my needle tool. Usually they go to the outside. But since this clay is really a nicely pugged clay, I usually don't have to do a lot to it. I wedge anyway.
Yeah, you say it's pugged?
Yeah, it's pugged through like a giant Play-Doh machine, basically.
Oh, like an extruder almost?
Yeah, it's extruded in a block form.
Huh.
I'm moving the bottom in too. I don't want this to be real wide. It's going to be the vase with a bottom that's at least as narrow as the top's going to be, the opening will be, so I want it fairly narrow.
You're making a vase, right?
And this is going to be a vase with a medium-high shoulder. So we got it centered. This here is what's called the slurry from throwing. This just peels off your fingers as you throw, and it's just a liquid like in ketchup consistency. And sometimes I'll sieve this through about a 60 mesh sieve and then apply it as a slip. So I do like some of that, like in the middle here, and apply it as a slip to pots that are thrown.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes use a clay, different clay for slip, but this is Big Turtle slip right here, Big Turtle clay body slip. And it takes a little bit of time to dig down into this because it is stiff. And the reason I want it stiff when I'm shaping this vase it's less likely to slump and fall down. So I'm going to be rounding it out, so to speak, making it billow out into basically a balloon with a tall shoulder, with a shoulder. So it's, as long as it stays centered and I'm on my way down to the bottom, I don't want to go to the wooden bat. I want to leave about a 1/4 inch. Ideally, I'd like about a 1/4 inch from the floor.
Yeah. And how do you check that?
And I'll check that with a needle tool, which is this tool, which is basically a needle embedded in wood.
Huh.
And people can make these, put a heavy needle in a dowel, epoxy a needle in a dowel. This I bought, and this one I've had for 20 some years. Okay, it's a little, it leaves a mark about right there, which is a little over 1/2 inch, maybe about 1/2 inch. That's too thick yet. So I'll push down in there some more.
Okay.
And check it again. See, now I'm going to check the depth again. Should be pretty good this time. Okay, yeah, that's less. It's about right there, so that's not bad. I might go down a little more, but other than that,
So you can tell because the needle is clean.
yeah, it
Okay.
usually leaves a dimp, like a bit of clay like that on it.
Yeah.
And I'm basically seeing in there from the reflection of the clay being wet. That's basically what how I'm able to see in there.
Yeah.
And if it goes up a little like a bowl, I just go in there and flatten that down to where it's level, let's say. A level floor. Or close to being level. And I can and I gotta compress this now with my fingers. And less likely to crack if I do that. And I try to never let water sit in the bottom of this when I'm done with a piece. The more you do that, the more likely it is to leave you a nice S-crack in the bottom. Okay, so the floor, I think I have it wide enough to where I want it. It's dry in there, so there's no water sitting in there. So now this I want to make into a tall cylinder, and it's rather thick. You know, it's like this thick right now.
Yeah, that way you can pull it up.
Walls are thick, yeah. So I'm even going to cone this in a little bit more because I want it to go up, not out. You know, I don't want it to go out into this kind of shape. I want it to stay vertical, like a cylinder.
Mm-hmm.
And get my sponge, and it's going to be a firm couple pulls here because sometimes if it's really thick, I'll help it along with the side of my hand.
Yeah.
A little slurry in there. Get the fingers opposite that inside, and then kind of push more from the outside than in. The in is steady.
Slurry equals worry. Hurry.
More slurry, less worry.
Yeah, that should be a shirt. Patent that.
So that made them a little thinner, got me a little straighter wall.
Yeah.
But now I can go in there with my regular sponge. And these are natural sponges. Sometimes I cut them a little bit to make a nice curve in them. This one happened to have a good natural curve.
Natural sponges, do they have an advantage over the synthetic ones?
I tend to like natural the best. They absorb, just the way they absorb and the way they feel in the hand. I've always just really liked them more. But, you know, there's some pretty good synthetic ones out there too. You know, this one, to start pulling, inner fingers are above the outer. And there's a bit of torque going on here because this stuff is firm.
I can imagine.
As long as I can gain some height with every pull, I'm good.
And how high you want to make it?
I'd like to get it about 10 inches high. Right now it's probably maybe 6, 5.5, 6. The walls at the floor are still about this thick. So I gotta get that out of the bottom and up into the pot. Mainly I get it to the height I want and then shape it. Sometimes a little shaping on the last couple pulls. Now this I'm moving in the base. So that sets me up to have a narrower base later. Plus a little groove under that I can get the sponge under my finger to pull with and do pulls. And it's pulling / squeezing. Pushing more from the outside than in because I want it to go straight up, not out. And then as I get to the top, I lessen the pressure because it gets
Delicate.
less clay resistance because I'm toward the end of it. End of the wall.
Yeah.
The bottom's the part I gotta really get the clay out of. And some people leave a thicker rim like this at the top until they're done getting more out of the bottom. That keeps a nice rim without getting wobbly. And this thing will not get too wobbly because it is quite firm clay. If it's too soft a clay for throwing a vase like this, for me it can get a little stressful because it wants to wobble.
Yeah.
You know, it's getting to the point where I can really have some nice pulls because it's getting a little thinner down there. And as I get to about the middle of this, I'll lessen up a little bit on it. Really concentrating on getting that clay out of the bottom of it.
Yeah.
So I can even like stop right there, go back to the bottom, and work on pulling more out of it. It's going, not the fastest method, but it's going well.
Sometimes haste is
And
not
this
the
in the
best.
bottom, I'll test if I can push in here and it moves that a little bit. It moves it a little, so you can tell it's starting to get to where I want it. Yeah. Moving the base in some more. Yeah, this is going good. These I just have to take my time with. Concentrate where the fingers are in relation to the outside fingers.
It's just an attained skill the more you practice it.
Yeah. And this I want the base to be narrower than the opening at the top for a nice aesthetic balance. And this top, if I ever need to go neck this in a little bit, as long as I can still get my hand in there, I can neck this in, or collar it as some people call it.
That classic
And you're
pinched.
basically making a collar with your hands, and just enough in there to, and that keeps it more steady too. I'm gonna go back to the bottom and get some more of that out of the bottom. It's
getting mushy in there.
It's getting, I want to get that base in some more. And I'm pushing out now from the inside a little bit. So that makes a nice ridge for my fingers to grab to start a pull.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going out a little bit now. You can see the body of it start to ripple just a hair, which means it's okay, but it tells me, okay, I'm getting a little thinner here. You don't want to pull too much more. And I can just push that back in and get to where it's not even doing that anymore. You just gotta be to the point where I don't want to get that too thin down there. And I still got all this thicker stuff up here yet to, make taller, and
That would crush it.
and then it will buckle. So I'm gonna work on this a little bit, get this shoulder. You see down here, it bulbed out a little bit.
Yeah, I can see it.
Because I was putting torque on the top. But I can just See where that's at? Yeah, see I can move that with my finger now. So that's getting me where that's thin
No more
enough.
thinner.
I'm going to do a soft shaping pull up it, but it's really not much of a pull as it is shaping. And getting that back in there. And that's where the ribs will come in handy in a little bit. I'm going to be doing some shaping. And starting to now. And start to do a little bit of rippling again, saying, hey, you know, watch me down here. But I'm watching it. Because if that gets too thin, it gets all wonky and ends up collapsing. But we're in good shape. As long as this ends up being at least 9 or 10 inches tall wet, I'm good. With a nice shape. I got plenty of clay I can pull out of here yet.
So you're gonna have as big of a
Hopefully
shape as this
that
piece
one,
over here?
yes, should be about that big.
Challenge accepted.
It's gonna have plenty narrow a base. That's not gonna be the problem. Base is good.
Good base.
And I'll take this and just keep that. Just keep it stable down there. Yep, pottery ribs. Stabilize all this. Yeah, it's fine now. Yep, gets all that back firmed up. Plus it gets a lot of the excess clay off of it. And that just adds weight.
So you're essentially shaping it from the inside and outside.
Yeah, it's fingers in there pushing against this rib. Just enough peel the slurry off the outside right now till I get this part pulled up some more. This definitely needs to be pulled up and thinned out some more, and then I'll gain a lot of height and probably pulled up to about like here in the rim and get this, just get some of that clay out of the shoulder and into the neck of this thing. And as long as you keep it wet enough and kind of keep one eye on that bottom. And down there it's fine now, the base has been stabilized and pushed in a little bit. Now I can work on this as long as I have a good wet sponge. I don't want to put a ton of torque on it. I'm going to gain some height and thin this out. Since I don't want the top really that thick of a rim on some of the older style crock type pieces. Yeah, they can have a rim like that, which looks good on an older piece. There's even some pictures, but for what I want with this one, that's not really what I want. Do regular finger pull here of this and get that collar thinned out. Yeah, that's more like it. Now I can really get into shaping this, because so you can see this wobble now. This whole thing wobble. I got a little thickness right there in the shoulder, which is great.
So that's essentially how you judge how thick it is.
Yeah. And the shoulder has a little more in it right now, which is great because that'll be stretched as I billow it out, and that'll thin that out. So that's right where I want that.
Got an immense amount of thought has to go into making one of these.
Because when I billow the shoulder out, it thins it too. Okay, now we're going to do a little shaping. Trying to get it similar to that one. It won't be exactly like it, but it'll be similar. I can still got plenty of room for my hand, so I can move this in a little, collar this in a little more even.
Yeah.
Plus doing that keeps it from wobbling too. And it thickens it. Every time you collar it in, it thickens it a little more too. Okay, let's get this. Bottom looks pretty good. Just gotta get up into the into the shoulder. Okay, and it's not going to be done in one trip up the pot. It's going to be a few.
It's got to be slow and steady.
Yeah, this really does for me. It's I got to get a higher shoulder, so I want the shoulder up a little more, and then curve it. It's already starting to get a nice shape to it now.
There she goes.
And get some of that excess slurry / weight off of it. Still want to lubricate it, but I just don't want tons of extra weight on it. Okay, more up into the shoulder, more shoulder work for now. The bottom here looks good. This is fine. I'm going to billow it out a little bit here. I want the shoulder wider.
Wow.
And as I'm doing this, rib and the fingers, that thins that out in the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's really starting to get into a nice higher shoulder shape, which is a lot more appealing than a real low, just round piece to me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if I want to just make sure this is all not wobbling here and stable, but it's fine. I'm going to thin this a little bit because I did collar that in and go up a little more. This will thin this plus gain a little more height.
Nice.
So now that is a real nice, starting to get a real nice feel to it in the top too. It's getting a little thinner. I'm going to go up a little more. Actually, I can do this on the inside now. I'm going to do something I've learned. I'm going to billow it out, but from the inside, starting up higher in the collar. So I'll hold, let's say I want right here, and I'm going to go pushing the inside now. You can kind of see where it is.
That's crazy.
That gives you instant more shoulder without going out this way instead of going so much like that. So, then I can always come back and check that smooth. And this is where I like stoneware so much, because it has more bones in it. It has more particles of either grog or sand or clay particles that are...
It's like aggregate and concrete is more stable.
Yeah, it's starting to get real nice.
Man.
Look, I'm going to do more of them on the go. I really kind of like it to have a bigger, rounder shoulder. So the shoulder won't do much to them. To come and meet it with this. And this involves turning my wrist completely around on the inside.
Oh my gosh.
And literally my index finger and my middle finger are on the inside right now against the rib. And that's what you get when the clay is firm, at least for me. I should just say me. You can do so much more. I can really shape.
Yeah.
If it's more firm, and I have no problem handling firm clay, like wedging it and whatever, because I have a bit of strength. So I can do that. I'm going to do a little more shaping of this top. I'm going to come into this a little bit and have it do a little bit of that.
A little bit of a bell.
And not much more the inside hole of this, but right here where the collar is. Collar this up. And if I want a little less, let's see. This is right. Just gotta be able to get my hand in there, because I do have to stamp this. And it has to involve my hand being in there. So
plan ahead.
It's not thick enough piece where I can just stamp it
Yeah.
without putting my hand in there, but I think I can get my hand there. Yep, that's just about right. Don't want any smaller. Like, see, the bottom base is roughly the same diameter as this top. Ideally, I like to have the base, and if you drew a cylinder
Yeah, it is
straight up,
darn
it's
close.
pretty, especially by the time I flare this out a little, it's going to look really nice. And balance, aesthetic balance. Okay, yeah, that's okay.
Now, is this going to get a lid, or is it going to get a little spout or anything?
Yeah, no, this will just have a opening.
Right.
I'm going to flare this a little bit right here, like I did with the bowl, actually. And kind of gives it a line of demarcation for the collar meets the vase. Now, go above that line. Try to make it like a throw rings in there, my finger rings, so to speak. Smooth that again. Okay. Yeah. Let's do one little. Because I had plenty of clay up here in the collar, it's not going to wobble, it's not going to, do all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Is that a little piece of like leather?
And this is what we call chamois, but this actually is it's a synthetic one.
ShamWow.
It's dirty girl tool. No, it's hold on.
Something tools.
That dirty. Let's see, WYSIWYG. This one's WYSIWYG. I think tools. It's hard to read because I got slurry all over it, but
WYSIWYG.
it's a synthetic one. It's not a natural chamois.
Yeah.
No, I'm gonna run a spiral up it.
Oh.
Till about right there, maybe.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a little cut in on the bottom, meaning just make a little bit of a foot first. And they say, let the game come to you, let the spiral come to the rib. Just hold the rib there. Once I get to the top, just hold it, it comes to it. So that stamp, I'm gonna stamp into this, the crest, will go right in there, like right in here.
Yeah.
I probably won't make a line for that because that's where that's gonna go. I'll end up pressing that into it. So I'll have my hand in there and I'll take the stamp and outside there, about inside here, inside the piece. And people have asked me, how do you get your stamps so without wrecking the piece? I go, well, you gotta back it with something in there, a sponge or I just use my hand. Okay, a little cut under here. Because this piece is so level on the top, I'll probably might do a little bit of I'll trim the bottom, but I'll just like basically flatten the foot.
Yeah.
Just so but I'm not going to carve into it because I already got a spiral there going. And then the needle tool I'll take. And that's just so the wire can get under there without cutting up into the piece. I'm basically just doing that because this is about the thickness of the wire. And I'm just going to kind of check.
The needle.
Like right here, just kind of right there where that ridge is, just smooth that a little bit. But this is just really what I wanted in terms of this piece. I just got to cut it off now, but that's really what I wanted. Let's see,
Perfect.
check the height here.
What do you guess? Like it's a foot.
I'm getting not a foot. I'm guessing 9.5 maybe. This ruler I've had since the 90s. And if it's at least 10 inches, I'm really happy. And it's about 11 now, which is dandy. That's fine.
Yeah, just under 11.
And it'll shrink. So when this is done, it'll probably be closer to 10.
So how much shrinkage do you get when you fire?
12.5, 13%. For most of these stonewares, these cone 6, meaning about 2200 degrees stonewares.
Dang.
2150, 2200.
That's hot stuff.
And it is hot. It's a light orange hot. Where if you get in the higher temps like the stone cone 10, 9 and 10, maybe even 11, is a yellow hot, almost a light yellow hot if you look into a kiln. But this is just what I wanted. I'm going to cut this off now just using my wire and just go straight through this. Just have to go through it and not be afraid to, if you stop in the middle of that, in the middle of the base and then do it again, it leaves a ridge.
Yeah, you gotta be
in there, and then that just makes something else more to trim. But that didn't even move this piece. As firm as that clay is, that didn't even begin to move this. And I'll just use my old knife too to get out of the edge of this bat, because it is on bat pins. And if I take a piece off and it feels like it almost wants to tip because of the weight being up here, that means I got enough clay out of there. It means it's not bottom heavy. And this one is not bottom heavy. Actually pretty balanced.
awesome.
So this will be a nice, hopefully my client will like this one. I will take a pic of it soon and send it to her. But I think she will like this one, because it is plenty tall. And I can get my hand in, the stamp will look good in that.
And how long do you have to wait for these to dry to be able to stamp?
Oh, for the stamping, if I left it out all night, by the next morning it'd be ready.
Okay.
But I usually end up putting a bucket over stuff like overnight, because I probably won't do that. I won't stamp it today.
I can't see those buckets.
And I just put these upside down on, because I know that these just fit on those wood bats.
Yeah. Good way to control the moisture and the temperature in a way.
And they do not dry out into these buckets, like at all. And I just make sure the piece isn't too tall for the bucket, which it's not.
Perfect.
And then just go over top it.
It's perfect.
It sets on there like that, and I can just leave that all night.
It's the perfect size.
That's about a 12-inch bat. And now the bowl's a little wide for that, so I'll put clear totes over bowls. But vases and anything that's within like 8 inches in diameter,
Yeah.
I can, and this is, just when I take stuff off, I just gotta make sure I go straight up.
All that work down the drain if not.
And yeah, that's,
Now these over here have been, what are they called, bisque fired?
those have been bisque fired. That is, I think some of that is this stoneware, this big turtle. And it turns that pink, and the pink's from the iron content. There's some iron content in there, as in the color of the clay.
Yeah. Gives it that red color.
And some, when they bisque, are real dark like this. This is bisque fired. It's called Klamath Brown. It's from Seattle Pottery Supply. But this bisque fire is not anything like that bisque fire, but they fire at the same temperature for maturity.
That's just purely the composition of the clay.
This orange slip is from Bloomington, Indiana, Creeks.
Oh,
It's Nate's Wild Slip.
thought that looked familiar.
Fires out a beautiful dark burnt orange color, almost with a little sheen to it on its own.
Like a terracotta.
Yeah, it's a beautiful, just natural mud he gathers from the bottoms of creeks when he goes geode hunting.
What a nerd. Hey, we should go look at the kilns.
Yep, you can look at the kilns. So some of this in here now, the throwing from the throw bucket. Some of it's thicker, some of it's more like water. But if I stir it and run it through a screen,
It's like
and
recycling.
screen just meaning like
Just
not
like
quite not quite a window screen, but this like these things, except a bigger one.
Yeah.
It's probably about a 60 mesh screen.
Don't strain yourself.
I have one up there that's a big bowl-shaped screen. Those are like wonderful for doing that.
Oh yeah.
And just run that slop through it.
It's like sifting flour, getting all the chunks out of it.
Just getting the chunks out and homogenizing it, getting an even consistency is the key. All right, so throwing pieces is one part of it. Then a few days later, let them firm up. And I turn these bowls over. And just where I can kind of push in on this without sticking to me.
Gnarly.
So it's ready to trim a foot ring on. So I can just pick this up now. Put on this a bat with basically a Formica top cut out for a sink or something. And I'll end up trimming it on there. And I'll get a couple wads of clay. Doesn't have to be the same clay, but this just happens to be ready to go. And I'll affix this around the rim of that on the bat so it doesn't wobble when I'm trimming it. I'll set it on this when I'll put this upside down on it when it's done.
Do the old flipperoo.
And then flip them both over. But this is basically at the center of this, so it's just sitting on there now. Get that to where it's centered. Usually a couple taps or so will get it.
Pretty close.
You can tell when it's centered because it's spinning, but it's like standing still. It's not doing this stuff.
And that's pretty important, I would think.
Yeah, so get an even trim. Then this is just a little bit of clay, like in its stage I'd throw it with, but I just divide this into 3. Kind of make Tootsie Rolls out of them. Now try to space them like in a triangle, roughly a triangle. And sometimes I actually look and put a little moisture on them. And wedge them up against this, and this will keep that from moving.
Good idea.
So I'll do this just 3 times and kind of have a pretty good idea of spacing. Doesn't have to be exactly a triangle, just so that it's spaced enough to where there's not a large enough space for it to come loose and come between 2 of these pieces.
It's a nice gentle way of holding it.
Yep. And this is it's perfectly ready to trim. So the first thing with these trim tools, your metal trim tools, the loop tools. And this is basically like if you've ever seen someone use a wood lathe.
Yeah.
Theirs spins this way, mine spins this way.
Huh.
So it's a matter of getting this going. And basically I'm just going to make this level this out first. And it shaves it off just like you would shave wood off a fillet of wood. The main thing is to get it level first. And not going up and down and stuff like that. You make it conform to you. And usually just do it twice just to make sure it's... And in here it doesn't have to be dead level right now because that'll be trimmed out anyway. It's mainly out here. You can see it's all trimmed and flat. And you switch to the little version of that. that loop tool, and this will shape more of the foot.
Yeah.
I'll get it to the diameter I want the final foot ring to look like, and then just have to basically show it who's boss and just kind of shaving clay off it just like wood would come off a piece of wood on a lathe. And I'll try to get a nice contour to this bowl. And then you may wonder, well, how do you know how thick it is? You don't go through it. And I usually just end up pushing on it. Next I can do it with this thumb. And if it pushes in easy, then it's like, oh, that's thin enough. This I could still shave some off that. So I'll probably leave that about that diameter. And just end up shaving more off of in here and making the foot ring. And I'll try and end up with a nice curve to this following the shape of the bowl. Yeah, I got room. I can get some more off that and make a nice taller foot ring. Because there's always going to be some clay down here at the bottom that you'll leave for stability, so the bowl don't collapse when you're throwing it, for one thing.
Yeah.
Okay, this does push in now a little bit. I'm going to take a little more off. Other than that, as the thickness part goes, it's pretty good. And I'm trying to follow this outer contour because it has a real nice contour now. Take this flat ribbon tool and go in here and work on the flat part of the foot and bevel it in a little bit so it has a nice stance. And get these shavings off. And once I get that to where I want it, can either smooth it with finger or a flexible metal rib.
Whoa.
And this will compress this here and make that real smooth. And that presses down the grog / fire clay, whatever's in there, and when you glaze it, it won't have extra like pinholes or anything there, and then not have them there, because that was just from the rib making it smooth when I threw it. And when the clay is a little wet enough, I can actually just like press on this and it makes a nice smooth rounded off edge of the foot there just a little bit before I trim the inside out. You can also do this with the finger too, just for this part of it. No better tools than your own natural
You get the sensory
God-given
feedback.
tools. You know, I'm going to hollow this out basically, but I don't want to go through the floor of this, obviously. So I'll press in on this, and it does move even a little, but I know I got enough. I can still shave some out, but that does move, so I'm going to be able to take about a 1/8 inch or so out of there, at least the middle. Out here it'll be more because it curves up into the shape. So I'm going to start out here and establish how wide I want the foot. Probably want right, the ring right there. Now as I go in with this, I can't go too deep because that middle part does move. Now I'm going to take off, and that can take a lot out of that middle, because I'll be signing it there too. And as I go out toward the rim of this, it's going to go down like that. Once I get a little piece of grog or something there and fire clay, and that just ribbons off. And this can be reclaimed. I'll end up reclaiming that.
You just throw that in your slip tub.
Yeah, I'll throw it in a bucket when it dries out, either in the slip bucket or in the dry shavings bucket. And as long as it isn't fired, clay can be reused. You know, this middle ought to be Yeah, I'm not going to go any deeper. That pushes in. Now as I go out here, it's not going to do as easy, because it's a little thicker. So I can tell about here on out, I can still take a little off.
Take a little off the top, son.
Mm-hmm.
But leave the burns.
And I want this to be a nice ring that follows the shape of the inside as much as you can. Curvature. And I'll use another tool on this too to smooth that more on the inside. Maybe not as smooth as this, but
Smooth enough.
it'll be better than. So now if I push on this out here in this outer third, yeah, it's all the way out to there. It'll push down a little bit, so that's pretty good. Better leave a little in there than start to go through it when it gets too thin. So I'll go back to this guy. Start the middle. I'll do this a couple times. I'll try to get a nice curvature down here. And it's still taking a little more off, but not too much as a time like the other tool. Because it's flat, or almost flat. So this I'll get out of there. You still get little lines in there, and that's just either fire clay or real little grog that's in there. The fire clay grog, which is basically ground up fire clay like from the kilns before. Like a refractory brick or... But yeah, this... People tend to either go straight out with this, even though the inside of the bowl is curved. You get too much thickness out there and in there, and when it dries, sometimes it'll crack because it's so uneven in thickness. Because the thinner one's always going to dry first. And then this inside here of the ring, I'm just going to smooth out a little. Usually anymore, I take my finger and just is enough to smooth this out in here. Just, it kind of compresses it too. Go all the way to the middle, and then it just makes for a nice extra compression. I already did the outside of this. This is flat. And sometimes I'll finger in here and do a little. Makes for a nice compressed rim, and if I happen to go and I see a little bump of something, like a clay sliver that got on there, I just to usually pick it up, and then that pretty much does that. I have a ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pen, it's not an ultra fine point anymore. It's just nicely rounded. It's just enough to act as a stylus in this clay without carving too deep. I don't want to really carve deep into it. I just want to touch this to this and make a circle. And then if I have stamping, I usually, like I do on this one, so it's right here, I usually have the name horizontal along with it. And this clay really has a nice amount of friction to roll a ballpoint on really nicely. And then make a signature.
Nice.
Yep, this is where the clay meets the heat. And basically these are the two kilns. Scott I bought in 1997.
Dang.
They'll last forever if you change elements once in a while. Change their. It's basically a big toaster oven.
Yeah.
This is a cone when our parametric cones. When that's the finished. And this is when how they start. And that's the measure of heat for potters. And when this bends over to that, that's like perfect angle.
Yeah.
Then it's completed. So this was the bisque firing.
How do you know? How do you see it? That's my question.
Okay, how do we see it? I can open this one so I can show you. I still got a bisque in here. Okay, this is my little 1.5-er.
It's adorable.
I got from a lady in Lafayette, I believe it was. See, it's basically a toaster oven. There's a little bisque firing in there now. I did last week.
See the elements all around the edges.
And there's elements are nicely deep set in there, so you have to get down pretty good to see them.
You can see a few of the coils.
So it's basically a toaster oven, but it fires a lot higher. These little holes here, these peep holes.
Is that how you see the cones?
This is how you see the cone. That one I leave in, even though it comes out.
Yeah.
But that one I always leave open. And when right, I can set the cone in there. You know, I didn't use one for this. I don't know how well. This one I didn't have to use one. But normally you'll see from about the top of the base to the top of it, normally.
Yeah.
I don't know how well you see it.
I can see the base of it.
Normally that shelf would be a little lower and you'd be able to see.
Yeah.
But sometimes at bisque anymore, for this kiln especially, I can just gas.
Yeah.
And
You're just that good. You've been doing it so long.
it's like an hour on low, hour medium, and a couple hours on high, and you got a bisque.
Now what?
This
kind of materials do you use
this
for the
is
actual wall?
refractory fire brick.
Whoa.
This
Like
is the
brimstone.
same. It's real light. It's almost like space shuttle tiles. It's real light, and heat gets into it, and then heat gets out of it quick.
Very good.
This insulates from heat. I mean, you still won't want to touch this jacket when it's
Well, yeah.
2,000 degrees, but this is the guy that keeps the heat from getting out. This will last forever if you take care of this at all. It doesn't break down real easy, like just only if you, but it'll bust easy. If you like miss something with a screwdriver, it'll gouge out that pretty good, and
so
it's fairly semi-fragile.
Is this a chunk of it here?
Yeah, that's a fire brick. That's a refractory fire brick. They're lighter than they look.
It's very light. Very light.
And it disperses heat really well. And these just a couple stoneware pieces in here of a recipe I saw online. The white rim is a white slip. It's a porcelain slip that happens to fit it. So it's for color contrast. There's some pieces in here. This is a big bisque fired big turtle piece that I have to yet to glaze.
How do you glaze them?
And this, something like this, I'll pour into the inside and swish it around, turn it sideways and roll it so it drips out.
So it's like a liquid.
So using this one I can show you. I'll pour into it, do some of this so it
coats the
top. Then I can either, when it dries, it'll go like this and then dunk it up to the top. Now that I, of course, hold the two hands like this and do one of these. Or spray it. Or spray the outside, which I do too in this spray booth.
A spray booth right there.
Yeah, a little spray booth here. I've had since about 2001.
It's the very high quality exhaust system there with the Folgers going.
Yeah.
Hey man, if it works, it works.
And it holds a 14 by 20 filter, which isn't in there because I need a new one in there.
Huh.
But it has just a little fan motor that leads up to right below the Folgers can.
Nice.
And then an exhaust outside to basically like a 4-inch dryer louver vent on the outside.
Functional.
So it does a job. It's not a perfect one, but it does the job. And I use a compressor and a little air gun to spray, and I usually do more of that in the summer because it's nicer out here and I can open the garage door and get a lot of ventilation and extra air movement.
Tell us about all the cool glaze elements and powders.
Oh, the materials and the glazes. So this are some of them, and I was given some of these recently, but they're basically this materials I use, like a feldspars and frits, which is compounds that are put together, melded together, and then ground up real fine, maybe 200 mesh.
Yeah.
And these are old school, like dolomite and colemanite. Some of these you can't hardly find anymore. Blackbird slip, which is a natural clay slip. And then I don't use that a lot, but
So is this the pure mineral, or is it a mineral mixed with other things?
this is mixed with others, but these are natural minerals.
Okay.
These are just compounds, like colemanite and dolomite.
I know dolomite.
And dolomite's a calcium
Carbonate.
Yep. Calcium magnesium thing, I believe. And Pyrex, that's another. This is, I think, bentonite.
That's a good clay.
Bentonite, very plastic colloidal clay. This is 200 mesh bentonite. I use 300 mesh in glazes if I want to suspend the glaze, keep it from settling. That's what I use. I've colored clay recently with burnt umber.
Ooh.
That's the plates. Actually, the plates in there, that plate and cup is,
Looks like cocoa powder.
yeah, colored with some of that. But my base materials for mixing glazes, the feldspar, the whiting, kaolin,
Yeah.
the basic meat of glazes, so to speak. Kaolin, of course, a primary clay, which is a clay that hasn't moved much from its original location, so it stays white.
It hasn't moved much tonight.
Yeah. And then ball clay. This isn't it, but under ball clay, okay. A little darker composition that has moved from its original spot on the earth, so to speak. And it's called that because when they used to dig it, load it on the wagons,
Mm-hmm.
and by the time they got it somewhere jumbling on cobble roads or dirt roads, it made it rolled into balls. But it's very plastic. It's a very plastic clay.
Very
But it's a
pliable.
natural clay. This is a clay called Albany Slip. And this is natural. This is dredged from the Hudson River in Albany, New York. That's why hence its name.
Huh.
And
Powder.
by itself makes a wonderful cone tin glaze, like a dark, shiny, semi-matte called Timaku, but like a dark Timaku glaze by itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's baked. And then there's, of course, silica, if that's below this, hopefully, okay, it's more kaolin, but silica, meaning flint or silica and whiting. It's more of the basic, like you could make a glaze with just those four things. Yeah, it's some clays, like fire clays, and Grollig kaolin, which comes from England. A very white, but not as plastic as 6-tile clay, which is one I have too, which is that bin there.
Mm-hmm.
But Grollig is a real soft feeling
It's like talc.
clay. No, I do have talc too, Texas and regular talc.
It's got all the powders.
But it's this is the heart of the glazes. Not so much the Grollig, but basically feldspar, flint,
Yeah.
whiting, and kaolin, and you got a glaze or ball clay. So there's a 6-tile clay. That's actually two things. It's a clay that they've added mainly industry, added some bentonite to it.
Huh.
So it's very plastic. You can throw it by itself. It'll make a pot. Huh. And which I haven't done, but I've seen it done.
One day.
And it's just kind of an off-white. If you throw a pot with it, it's kind of like an off-white.
Interesting.
But by itself, it'll make a pot. An old hickory ball clay. You get all these from the Mid-South. This is like from Kentucky or Tennessee.
Goodness.
And Hawthorne Bond, I think it's from the Mid-South as well. Not certain. But I have, but that's the
50
meat. That's the
50
meat.
M meaning 50 mesh.
50 mesh, yeah.
Okay.
So it's not 200 mesh. It's not super fine because it is a clay, but it's a natural clay.
So what?
It's a it's a ball clay, but it's. So where'd you see? Oh, that one, the 50 mesh Hawthorne Bond. It's not ground as fine, so it has a little bones to it.
Yeah.
For helping a pot stand up a little better. Like when I was just doing the shouldering thing, it helps it stand up better, not slump so easy.
So the smaller the number, the finer, or is it vice versa?
No, the smaller number, the coarser.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's a nice coarseness, though. It's not like you're gonna really feel a ton of grit in your hand. It's still
Chunky.
fairly smooth, but I can just like feel that a little bit. It's just enough to say, yep, there's a little bit of coarseness to that, but not. It's wonderful. That's Hawthorne Bond's a real nice clay. And so I've accumulated just stuff over the years. This is a mix of a few clays. I just went ahead and blended them together because I had not a ton of either of it. So Cedar Heights Red Art is, as its name implies, it is a red. It's this one. This is Red Art by itself. It's from Ohio.
Oh wow.
Very much an iron-bearing clay. Not incredibly plastic on its own, but if you add ball clay to it, boom, you got a nice little clay body.
Wow. It's like chocolate.
But it's like 7% red iron in it, so that's why it's so. And it fires out kind of a red-orange color. Then the higher you fire it toward its maturity, like cone 3 or whatever, it gets real dark. Like a dark red. But this is a mixture of Red Art, that stuff. As you can see, it's not as much of the Red Art.
Just enough.
Mainly Gold Art clay, which is the gold version of that. It's kind of a light brown, gray version of that. And then there's
It's so powdery.
I think there's another fire clay in there too. This is mainly the Gold Art.
Wow.
And I just made a body of that recently too. I just mixed up some together and said, let's see what it does.
What you just look at.
It's so fun. I've loved it for so long.